Welcome to the Flourish Frequency, the show where we activate and amplify the frequencies of success, joy, and abundance. I'm your host, Beth Larsen, a high-performance and quantum success coach. If you're ready to ditch the hard hustle and embrace a more effortless flow, then this is the show for you. Together, we'll tap into quantum thinking, harness the laws of the universe, and unlock the secrets to living a life of more. More joy, more energy, more passion, more money, and more meaning. No more simply surviving, we're going beyond thriving. It's time to flourish. The Flourish Frequency Show starts now. I am Beth Larsen, your host, and today we're going to be talking about how to grow your courage so you can flourish. And I do have today with me my wonderful co-host here, Dr. Pat. She's having a little bit of audio issues right now, so while we're waiting to get that all under control, I'd like to give you guys a little bit of background, a little insight into really what inspired me with this topic this month. Whether you're into astrology or not, this is the month of Leo. This is the month of the lion. And it's also, we had Lionsgate energy this month, which was activating and amplifying abundance out there. But it really just got me thinking about this whole archetype of the lion and the lion energy and what it really means. And I kicked off this month my Wired for Wealth program. And this was the very first topic that we really dove into with the group, is understanding and how to embody this archetype, this energy. The lion represents so much. And as an archetype, as with all archetypes, you can either be expressing from the shadow side of the archetype or the strength side of the archetype. And when I think of the lion, the thing that naturally comes to mind for me was my favorite movie of all time, which is The Wizard of Oz. I absolutely love that movie. Every single year growing up, I would watch it with my dad. We would get popcorn and sit down and watch The Wizard of Oz. And it has so many messages in it. But the lion here is the one I really want to resonate with today. But let's go back to talking about here this lion archetype. And the lion, when you think of the lion in The Wizard of Oz, you saw the lion go from the shadow side, being the cowardly lion, and by the end of the movie, stepping into his true king of the forest energy. And so that for me is really what the shadow looks like. It's that cowardly lion place where we're hiding from the very things that make us fantastic, that make us great, that make us powerful. And the king of the forest energy, the strength, is all about strength. It's about boldness. It's about power. It's about courage. And it's really about sovereignty as well. And sovereignty to me is a really important piece, because that sovereign piece is all about, being a powerful leader. And being self-sovereign is being able to lead yourself. So when the challenges come up in life, the things that may trigger you, the things that may actually put you into your cowardly lion side of the archetype, it's really tapping into the sovereignty to lead yourself back and claim your king of the forest energy. So one thing that was really interesting, if you listen in The Wizard of Oz, at the end of the movie, when the wizard is giving the lion his courage, what he says to him is, "You, my friend, are a victim of disorganized thinking. You're under the unfortunate impression that just because you run away, you have no courage, and you're confusing courage with wisdom." And that to me is a really big aha moment. It means so much to me, this idea of being a victim of disorganized thinking. As I mentioned, we were talking about this topic in my Wired for Wealth course this week. And one of the things that Wallace Wattles in The Science of Rich talks about is thinking in a certain way. And Napoleon Hill, when he wrote Think and Grow Rich, was really talking about too, having organized thinking and the way that your thoughts actually the way you think and the thoughts between the conscious and the subconscious have all the difference in the results that you produce in your life. And so when the wizard is talking to the cowardly lion about being a victim of disorganized thinking, there's that side of it. It's like, what way are you thinking? What perspective are you looking at things from? And if you're seeing it as running away from something versus having the wisdom to walk away from something that's actually not serving you, that wouldn't be in your best interest, that's a perspective shift. And that has everything to do with whether or not you see yourself as cowardly, or if you actually are activating your courage and doing something from a place of wisdom. So this is more the topic that I want to dive into with Dr. Pat here today. I think we're going to run to a break here real quickly, and hopefully I'll return with her. And if not, we're going to dive into this topic together on our own. And we're back. And this time I do have Dr. Pat with me. So as we were talking before the break, today's conversation is really all about how do you cultivate that courage to flourish. And it was really inspired for me by this, the idea of the Lion Archetype, really from all this Leo energy that we've got going on this month here in the month of the Lion. So, I'm curious, Dr. Pat, when you heard the topic for today, what were your thoughts?
Oh, off my seat, jumping. By the way, thank you so much. You did a great job. I often wonder if like these shows that I do, actually anything ever rubs off of people. And oh my gosh, you did a fabulous job. So let me tell you a little bit about this. I was very excited about this, and I looked at your topic, and I have to tell everybody, there's a component to this that is all about flourishing. Now, we've renamed our show days on our show. So Jessica and myself, and Linda, we work administratively. So we have officially named Friday
Flourish Friday?
Yes. And so, sorry. No, but let me tell you about this. Let's talk about courage, but let's talk about it in a way that talks about the strength of one's conviction.
Yeah.
Okay. This was a very unusual Lionsgate in that, of course, it's 888, and then it was 888, and on 888 p.m., we launched on one of our host websites, right?
Oh, wow.
But there's something else about this. From an astrological perspective, it was Jupiter really running the show. So what does that mean? So what that means is everything you said in the first part of the show points to courage, but not courage just kind of passive and static. See, tell me this. The Flourish Frequency.
Yeah.
That is action.
Yeah.
It's not static.
It's vibrant.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. And let's talk about what it means, in my words, to power up.
To power up. Okay.
To power up. Because power up is like what Hawkins talks about in Power versus Force, don't you think?
I literally have the book sitting right next to me.
That's so cool.
I love it.
Go ahead. Let me hear it from your perspective. What did you pull from that book? By the way, can we call him like a pioneer in frequency and energy and stuff?
Completely.
Okay.
Completely. And so much of what I learned through his work is, it totally foundational to the changes that have occurred in my own life. And what's really interesting, when you look at the map of consciousness, the frequencies that are below the line and the frequencies that are above the line, the difference is courage. Courage is the frequency that moves you from the energy that is confining into the energy that is expansive, moving, vibrant, flourishing. It just takes that fine line between the two. If you can activate your courage, you can step in and move out of fear and move into faith. Yeah. So I love that you brought that up. It's like, how did you know?
Well, let's keep talking about it, because I think recently I've had a couple of experiences like this. And the experience that I'm referencing have two things in common. I want to ask you about this, especially with the Flourish Frequency. I know we've talked about this a bit, but I really want to bring it in. I want to bring in faith. Now, I'm not talking about religious faith. I'm talking about faith. When I teach trust busting, I talk about the strength of your conviction because a lot of people don't like the word faith, but it is the strength of your conviction. I want to ask you about this because this Lionsgate in particular asked us to step forth in courage, but in courage and trust.
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk about that because in Hawkins' work, in order to get from those frequencies to move across them, they have something in common. They have something in common. And Bruce Lipton called it the biology of belief.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, even Olivia Newton-John in her CD, Grace and Gratitude. So can you talk to the purpose and the power, as in power versus force, of adding faith / strength of your conviction to the courage frequency?
Yeah, it's interesting because I was just talking about this at my Wired for Wealth this morning. You know, one of the things that I practice on a daily basis and that I also teach my clients is a process of creating your daily divine declarations. That's what I call them. And it's deciding and declaring your truth and what gets to be true for you. And that's not the same thing to me as an affirmation. You know, there is a level of conviction of I am deciding and I'm declaring and I'm choosing this to be true. And to me, that is really what that energy is all about. It makes all the difference between just hoping and wishing and praying for something and having a solidness in your body, having just being anchored in, I know that my outside world may show me something completely different right now, but this is what I'm deciding and declaring, and I'm choosing it to be true for me. And I call it a daily divine declaration because to me, it is invoking the divinity within me. It is the as me consciousness that is saying that is the I am one with. And so how can it be anything but true? Right? And that's the declaration that I make. So when you talk about conviction, that's what that means to me. And it does require, the courage to just put it out there. But it's a choice you're making. It's like I choose this. I choose this to be true. Otherwise, if I don't choose it, the world will choose for me.
Yeah.
And I will be either trying to force it or I'll be trying to just be at the mercy of whatever I get. And, I use the word force there because it's not the same thing as deciding and declaring, right? That's the power versus force. The power is I'm choosing this to be true.
I love it. I gave it another name this morning, but I didn't want to give it another name unless I talked to you because I'm using your brand and trademark. I called it the Flourish Frequency Factor.
Oh, I like that.
That's what I called it. Take it. It's yours. But it's what I came up with when I was looking at what we're going to talk about today. And I said, Beth has got to use this term because all of the things you talk about are that factor. There are things in business called critical success factors.
Yes.
And we outline them, but nobody looks at the flourish frequency factor. What are these factors? And I think you've got 10 of them. I'm pretty sure there are 10. I can't remember if I counted 7 or 10 in the past shows we've done.
Oh.
But you've got them. So here's the difference.
Okay.
I call it something. I call it in. This is what I call it. Now, Pastor Joel Osteen and also Goswami, there are a couple of people that do this, but I have never, from different spiritual practices, they all do it. But I have never heard it done so powerfully as Joel. And he says, you got to call it in. And here's what he's saying about. He's saying what you just said. We can sit and we can put the vision board up. Why do you think so many people were disappointed in The Secret? See, they didn't know this thing you and I are talking about today. They didn't know this. They thought, I'm going to put it up there and I'm going to, no. See, flourish frequency to me is an active energy. But it needs a spark plug. I'm sorry, my lawnmower is broken the other day and we were taking it apart. So I got the spark plug in my brain.
Okay.
So we're talking about this mower that doesn't start. And we're talking about the fact everything is here. Brand new lawnmower, right? Well, a year or so old. It
Yeah.
should start. Gas is turned on. Oil is in it. But it's not sparking.
Mm.
Hello. And so this is what we're talking about. Now, I want to tell you, I love your declarations because they are the spark plug.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the energy and what Hawkins talked about. See, I can sit here and think this, but when I stop for a minute, and I want you to do a few of these from your declaration from this morning,
Mm-hmm.
but there was a shift this week for
Mm-hmm.
me. And there were some things that were question marks. And I have learned from the universe that we need to put a period where we have question marks.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
Before you do anything, you
Yeah.
got to take the question mark off and put the period. So Linda and I
Love
both
it.
started these, and I started to do this with my marketing team a week ago. We have got to declare it, and we've called it in. I want to ask you this. I have found that it's very hard for people to do I am.
Mm.
They have a hard time saying, I am blessed, I am successful, I am victorious, I am flourishing.
Yeah.
So I had to change it up. And I said, what do you want to call in? So you take the word I out for some people,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what we're saying. You know what we're calling in today? We're calling in courage. We're calling in the planets perfectly aligned. We're calling in flourishing in every aspect of our lives, every day, every minute, in every way. We're calling in that flourishing energy that we're going to pay forward to other people. We're
Yeah.
calling in perfect health. We're calling in perfect wealth. We're calling in, I will lend money and not borrow. We're calling in the great love relationship we're having. We're calling in a great show today with Beth Larsen with Flourish
Yeah.
Frequency. We're calling in, okay, the meter guy that changed the meter, not taking 10 years to do it. We're calling speedy upgrades as we speak. You know, we're calling in everything approved in our lives. We're
Yeah.
calling in the greatest dinner. You see, I want you to talk to that because mission, dreaming, visions. One,
Mission. Say that again.
missions, dreaming, and vision. We need
Yes.
to talk about because why? See, you don't call in things that are naturally going to happen. You
Yeah.
got to call that big vision. And so let's talk about how you talk in your class this morning.
Yeah. Well, for
Dreaming
me,
big.
yeah, dreaming big. Well, I'm not a huge religious person, but I will
Spiritual.
say in the Bible it says, where without vision the people will perish. And whether
That's
you are running a company or you are running your life, right? Like if you don't have a big dream, if you don't have a vision, if you don't have a mission which is attached to that vision, you're going to perish. Like there's a spark plug there, right? There's nothing that's going to get you going that's actually going to allow you to create that. So to me, that's a really important point, always starting there and actually having a goal that goes with the dream. The one distinguishing thing for me is understanding that a goal is not something to get, it's something to grow, right? So it's like if most people set goals to get them, that's always going to be misguided. You want to set a goal that's going to grow you because the getting is just the byproduct of it. So when we're setting a goal and we have a vision, we have a mission, we create a goal out of the vision or the mission, it's got to be something that grows you. And that's going to require courage. Coming back to the topic for today, that's going to require courage because in order to grow, you're going to have to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be challenged to think differently, to see things differently, and to feel differently than you currently are. And so
Yeah.
you've got to have the vision, you've got to have the mission, and then you've got to have the decisiveness and the decision and the conviction to say, I am declaring this for myself. Now, I would personally push back on the I am, because that's, for me, that's like, okay, if somebody is uncomfortable doing that, that's something I want to go into. I
Oh,
want
I
to
do it
discover
too.
that.
Let me be very, very clear. I give them a pass.
Yeah.
Temporary. It's like a hall pass. That
Yeah.
hall pass is temporary. And the reason that sometimes that works is I know they'll grow into it.
Yeah.
But you cannot, if you're not willing to do the I am,
Yeah.
okay, we can work on that. But if you're not willing to call it in, then you're working with somebody that doesn't really want what they showed up and paid you to help them, but they don't really want
Right.
that. And so you and I come from the same
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
But I asked them to find an I am that they can live with, right?
Yeah.
My I am list. I have a standard list every day,
Yeah.
and I don't deviate from it.
Yeah.
And there's some days where I can't say I am wise
Mm.
on my list, but I do it. There's some days I can't say I am in shape,
Yeah.
but I do it. And I want to
Yeah.
ask you this. What have you found are the ways that you help people build courage? Because see, you and I work with very similar groups of people. I work with women,
Yeah.
and I work with women that I call stuck is my word. They're a little
Yeah.
stuck. You know, on paper they got it all. I got the job, I got the this, I got the that, and they're like, oh, I hate my life, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But how do you do this in your coaching practice? Let's talk about what you do to
Yeah.
help people.
Well, I think one of the most important things that I work with my clients on in particular is people who are ready and understand and know that we're going to go into triggers. Like, I embrace triggers. You know, I've said this before in previous episodes. Triggers hold the keys to your treasure. When you and you, well, actually, the triggers are holding the treasure box, I should say. You hold the key to it. You have the ability to unlock the treasure that's within those triggers. And so if we avoid those triggers, you know, it's nothing, no change is ever going to happen because you won't learn to lead yourself forward. Again, coming back to the topic of the lion energy here and the sovereignty, it's about becoming self-sovereign and being able to lead yourself there. So, you know, anytime I trigger one of my clients, I'm like, you're welcome. You're welcome. Let's go there now. Let's do this. And thank you. Thank you for letting me and trusting me to trigger you from time to time. Because I know that the higher version of you is capable of rising up and busting through this thing that is actually wanting to make you shrink, that's wanting to make you move into your cowardly lion side of you, because you're being a victim right now of disorganized thinking, right? You're thinking that you're not powerful. You're thinking that you're not brave. You're thinking that you're not courageous. The truth is, you are. You just don't even know it yet. What if that's not true? What if the truth is, you know, you just need a little badge on your chest, like the wizard gave the cowardly lion. He had it within him already, but he was looking at it the wrong way, and he was, as they all were, right? All of them in that movie. But I think that is something that's what I do with my clients. You know, I'm not talking about people who have deep trauma and triggering people like that. That's not who I'm here to work with. There are different people out there that work with people who are dealing with deep trauma.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the little t trauma that, you know, is just keeping people playing a small game.
Yeah, let's talk.
And
Let's come up. I want to get right to a little T trauma. Okay, ready
yeah,
for one?
yeah,
Okay, I know you work with women. I work with women, but I also work with some men because not a
yeah,
lot, but there are some. And here is a little T trauma.
yeah,
I was working with someone and I said, "Wow, aren't you due for a raise?" And their answer was, "I'm past due." And I said, okay. So when are you going to go ask your boss? That is a little T trauma right there. You
yeah,
can see it in their face.
yeah,
They're like, well, I don't know. I said,
yeah,
but you just said you were due for a raise. Well, how much of a raise do you want? Well, I know what I should get. Okay, how much should you get? Well, I haven't gotten a raise since I don't know when. And so I haven't even gotten a raise for a cost of living. And this is an executive, hello, like a middle manager executive.
right, right,
And I'm like, okay, so do you get bonuses? No. So what is your calculation? So we took a minute, the calculation came out. My raise should be a minimally of 13.5 thousand a year. I said, great. Oh, minimally for you. Okay, so what's your range? Well, 13.5 to 17. And I said, does
Hmm.
that include performance? No, that's just da da da. I said, great. When are you going to sit down, have an appointment, and ask your boss? Oh, but I can't. Maybe I should ask for 2,000. So how do we go from
Yeah.
calculating that amount of money? You
Yeah.
see, that's what I call a silent trigger. What would you say about that?
About the amount triggering him.
Just not even want to ask in the
Yeah.
boss.
Yeah. Well, that would be, for me, I'm looking at that from the nervous system, right? That is going to be a freeze response or a flight response. Flight being, I'm going to avoid that at all costs. I'm just not even going to go there, right? And that's just the nervous system because it would be uncomfortable to actually assert yourself and go there. So what I love what you were doing there is you were actually getting him to define first off, what actually does he desire? Not just what's the minimum. I mean, you started with what's the minimum, but what do you really desire? Because then you've got the desire there. Now you can honor that desire. That's the feminine energy, by the way, is the desire, right? This is
Yes,
what I
it
would
is.
truly love to get. Now the masculine energy, that king of the forest lion energy, can come in and actually support the feminine by taking decisive action and actually going and asking for it. So what I would do is take a look at what's that trigger coming from.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I've said it before in the
Yep.
show here before, of the release technique, um, where you really take a look at what's triggering you. Is it a need for control? Is it a need for approval? Is it a need for safety and security? So which is it
It's
that's
the
keeping
safety and
you
security. It
safety
was
and
the safety
security?
and security. And
Yep.
let's just put this together because this is quite common. So
Yeah.
the safety and security need is the following. If I ask my boss for a raise, they will
Yeah.
get mad at me and
Yep.
I may lose my job. So we went,
Yeah.
this is a high performer, by the way.
Yeah.
We went from, I am like at the top of the food chain in my company,
Hmm.
but if I ask for this, I will lose my job. And then you have to get underneath.
Yeah. The underlying issue there is that
Yeah.
he's making that job his source.
Well, and here's the punchline. I'll just give you the. I'll just go right to the end game.
Yeah.
Dad did it, lost his job, family went into poverty. Dot
Yeah.
dot 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 dot.
Yep.
That that
Yeah.
was what was
That's the belief and the story that's running the
right.
behavior. Yeah.
But this is really what you do. The Flourish Frequency
Yeah.
and what you've created here in your coaching platform allows people to show up exactly where they are, no judgment, no right or wrong,
Yeah.
and to help them overcome, remove a hurdle, whatever you want to call it, one piece at a time.
Yeah. And I would actually even say, for me, it's even more about, because it's not about removing a hurdle or an obstacle as much as it
Mm,
is embracing a new version of you that
thank
makes the
you.
hurdle and the obstacle obsolete.
Thank you for that. Thank
So
you for
it's
that.
like, and that's a big paradigm shift for people, though, because most people are taught to be problem solvers and get rewarded for being problem solvers and create problems all throughout their life to solve because it keeps that dynamic going. But being able to really recognize there's nothing wrong with you. There's absolutely, in fact, your nervous system is working exactly the way it's supposed to. It's just a little dysregulated right now because it has the wrong target in place. It's trying to protect the wrong thing. You've got to decide, you got to listen to your heart and let the heart lead, which, by the way, the lion, right? The courage. Do you know what the root of the word courage is? Is core, which is Latin for heart.
Wow.
You've got to have the heart included here.
Yeah, you
The,
have
the
to.
lion's heart is that's where it comes from, right? Is that ability to say, these are my desires, this is my truth, this is what I'm deciding and declaring, and then taking action from there, because that's where that masculine energy comes in to support and serve the feminine, to steward the desired forward. And it needs the strength
Mm.
of somebody saying, I'm willing to go to battle for this desire that's been
Look,
placed inside me.
I love we're talking about this. I want to bring it down to an everyday example. that I didn't know I was going to share until it happened the other day. Linda is spending time with me, and we've got wild land back here, and it
Uh-huh.
grows berries. We have these delicious berries that grow every year, but it's really crazy wild. The rabbits live there because the berries drop, the rabbits eat, right?
Right.
But it's like way grown over. And Linda is the queen. I mean, you could nickname her Machete, right? She loves to get into these places and trim them and cut
Mm.
back. She just loves it. And so the other day I said, Linda, I can't reach this. Okay, so here comes Linda. She's got the clippers. There's a 2x4 thrown down in the back of this that's really wobbly. And Linda is in there. And I'm having a panic attack. Why? So I figured out why. Not, I have every bit of faith in Linda. And
Mm-hmm.
even if Linda falls, she will pick herself back up, probably full of stickers, and she will pick up the clippers and keep clipping. That's
Yeah.
Linda. But I was sweating with fear.
Huh.
I got it. When I was a young child, had to be 5. My family took us to a bungalow in Jersey somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, even at a young age, playing ping pong on an outdoor ping pong table. I remember this the other day, and the ball went into brush, like I can't remember, but ground cover or something. It went in there. And I went in and got the little ball, and I'm 5. I'm a little kid.
Yeah.
And I step into a hornet's nest.
Ooh.
And there were yellow jackets literally all over me.
Wow.
And I ran home back down to the bungalow, which was quite a bit of ways, and they were all over my legs. And in that moment, I remembered that.
Yeah.
You see, tell me that that's not a trigger.
Yeah. That would that would be a very real trigger.
It's a trigger, but
Yeah.
it's a trigger. You see, we have triggers we don't know we have because
Yeah.
we are not aware, but there are financial triggers.
Yeah.
We have, Beth, look, we have an entire generation of people. I can't remember if they're X's, they're Y's, they're Z's, I don't know which one. But they're the generation that were in the teen years during 2008, 9, and 10.
Mm-hmm.
And they watched their families lose everything.
Right.
So, financial markets, saving, finances have become a trigger for them.
Right.
But let's talk about where people can now go. Because dreaming, visioning, mission, action, keeping that high frequency, if
Yeah.
we're not able to do that, we are not going to get what our heart's desires.
Absolutely. And that's why you've got to have the courage to hold your power and not get pulled out by everything around you that's trying to tell you, woe is me, chicken little, the sky is falling. We're all going to HE double toothpicks. Almost said it. But you know what I mean? It's like if you plug into the outer world and use that as your source of everything, your source of joy, your source of happiness, your source of love, your source of validation, your source of money, right? If you're letting everything outside of you become the source, then you're unplugged and you're going to be back there either powerless, as Dr. Hawkins would show us, we would be powerless, or we'd be trying to force ourselves into power, which doesn't work. So when you can unplug from what's going on around you, put blinders on basically, and plug back into the true source, the true, pure, creative source energy that has created all of us, that we are co-creating with. When you plug back into that and realize you are the source and you are one with that source, now you can hold power. And so you can hold that power. And as you hold that power and that frequency, that flourish frequency, now the outer world has to adjust to you instead of you adjusting to it. So if there is a recession going on, it's not saying a recession's not going on. I don't have to experience the recession the same way other people do. I can create a completely different reality from it, but not if I am only looking at the recession. If I'm looking at it as a problem, I'm not going to see the opportunities that are there to create something entirely new out of it. You know, when you look at the most successful, wealthiest people out there, you think of people like Richard Branson, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, even though he's not here anymore. Those people weren't just they weren't just smart people, they were creative people.
Yeah.
And so to create something new that allows you to survive, and not just survive, sorry, but to thrive and then flourish despite what the economy is showing outside to everybody else, that takes power, not force, and it takes creativity.
Yeah.
And that can only be accessed when you're unplugging from the outer world and plugging into pure source energy.
I made a statement the other day on the show, and it's just what I believe. And I said, if Steve Jobs was still alive, he would have been called the pioneer of AI. And they looked at me like, what are you talking about? I say, there's a quote from Jobs way back, like I don't even know when, where he talks about the future of AI. So this is a man that back in the day, fired, loses the company, comes back, and he's talking about AI. And I will guarantee you, I mean, I will never know, but if Steve Jobs would have continued to remain in his earth skin, he would have AI'd this a decade ago, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But what is that? It's a vision. It's a mission. It's a faith. It's a confidence, right? It's everything you've talked about here today. It is a faith.
It is faith.
It is a belief.
And it's it's giving up the need to know how.
Oh yeah, he didn't know how.
No. When he was creating the first iPod, like he took it to his team, the idea, and he said, "I have no idea how you're going to do this, but I've had the dream, the vision, like figure it out." And they did, right? And I think that is the thing that will keep people all, stuck, because they don't have the faith without needing to know the how. Well, that's not really faith. Faith is there. Faith is exercised when you have no idea how.
That is
and
it.
You still have the dream.
Yeah. And this is the idea of calling it in, and I am. You see, you have to call things in.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm going to call in, I'm going to go to the grocery. No, you're not. You're going to go to the grocery store anyway. You got to call things in that don't seem.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
You got to call in the resources. You got to call in the passion. You got to call in the confidence. You got to call in being prepared, qualified. You got to call those in. And you understand, I'm not saying think them. You have to verbally say them, right?
There is frequency that comes from the voice. Absolutely. And some cymatics, right? You've got to put the frequency out there. If you're just thinking it in your head, I mean, that's nice. That's definitely nice. But it doesn't have energy to it. It's not moving energy. And your voice is so powerful, and we were all given a voice. You got to use it. You got to use it to call it in.
I remember
it's not think it in, although it is think and grow rich.
Well, it is think and grow rich, but I mean, if it would just think and grow rich, we would have never heard him say a single word in public. Hello.
Exactly.
My boss, Brian McGorry, came back one year. It was 1970. It was 1970 something. I was a clerk I was like low level clerk, and Brian he was furious.
Yeah.
Angry. And he came in with a big Alienware looking, almost like a giant, the original Macs that came out, they look like little alien machines. The first ones that ever came out looked like little aliens, but there was
okay.
But this was a machine 4 times, right? It was beautiful. It was like, oh, I said, Brian, that's the coolest thing. He was really mad. And I said, what is that? He said, that is the idiot. I can't say the whole thing. He said, that is the idiotic senior management decision not to go forward with it. I said, okay, great. But what is it? He says, it's a picture phone. Bell Labs created a picture phone. In what's the year? 76 or 77.
Whoa.
And I said, oh my God, it's cool. He said, the idiots upstairs did not approve. Can you imagine going forward and with the first picture phone? He
Yeah.
said they didn't go through it. They know they had to get the cable, but they didn't go through it because they didn't think women would want people to see them in their pajamas. I said, are you kidding me? Can you imagine what would have
Wow.
happened if AT&T would have moved forward with that project in 19, I don't know what
Yeah.
year?
Wow.
But let's talk about that. How can you help people today remove the boundaries, remove the borders that they have around their creativity?
Yeah. Um, I think again, part of it is tapping into the heart's desire. And then when you talk about boundaries, it's funny you use that word. You've got to have boundaries. I always talk about having boundaries from love and not from fear when you're putting boundaries in your life. But part of what you have to have a boundary around is your dream and not letting the outer world get get in and mess with it.
Yeah.
Right? It is the boundary between, again, what I'm deciding gets to be true for me and what the outer world is telling me gets to be true. The outer world doesn't get to tell me. Right? I have one source that I connect with and speak with, and that is my source, and that is what I know guides me back to my truth. And it feels amazing. It feels flourishing in the body. And if my outer reality isn't yet showing it, it's only because I am still buying into something outside of me. So my guidance system, my emotional guidance system is there to guide me back to truth. Because if it feels icky and gross and contractive, that's not my truth. It's just not my truth. So, the boundary for me is like I'm creating a boundary between where I'm going to actually put my focus, energy, and attention. What am I going to choose? I have to exercise my free will. I have to exercise the fact that I was given free will from the creator that says I get to choose. I get to choose. What choice am I going to have? And am I going to let my lower brain and the outer world tell me things, or am I going to witness it when it's happening, to recognize it when it's happening, to awaken to it? And then am I going to have the courage to lean into it and say, you know what, actually, I don't agree with that anymore. I'm no longer agreeing with that belief. This is what I'm choosing to believe now, and hold it.
All right, so here we go. I want to know what you're conjuring up the courage to call in for yourself now. I mean, many people know what you're doing. You're a phenomenal coach. You've helped so many people. You've created the Flourish Frequency. I would love to know what that next Flourish Frequency factor thing is for you, if you can share it. Now, sometimes you don't want to share something too soon, right?
Well, one of the next things that I'm calling in actually is I'm going to be doing more retreats. Actually, that is, I've dabbled a little bit, and I love doing them. First and foremost, I absolutely love doing them. I'm going to be doing a retreat in a couple of months. I'm working out the details still, so I'm hesitant to talk about too much of it there, just because I'm still working out some details. But it is going to be all about alchemy, and we're really going to explore going into the shadows on the first day, and then elevating and creating the magic of alchemy and how you change how you're looking at things, and then taking action forward from it. So that's actually the thing that I'm creating next, that actually I have no idea totally all the details just yet, but I had to decide first. I had to make the decision, yes, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And then I had to actually, make the decision, oh, let me actually just go ahead and put a down payment down on the place that I'm going to hold it, because I've decided that I'm going to do it. Now that actually creates some tension for me, which actually puts me into action. That's a whole nother episode, I think, is the conversation between tension and resistance, that I'd love to do another time. But
I think we should do that one.
Totally. I'm making a note right now, because that is a juicy, juicy topic. But
it's a juicy one.
It created the tension that actually, could have been a trigger, but that's my opportunity to lean in. And it moves me into action to say, yeah, do I want this? Actually, yeah, I do. My heart really wants this.
Oh my God. I love that we're talking about this, because I love retreats and in person. So congratulations on that. And by the way,
Thank you.
we will be here to support you every step in the way.
Thank you.
The thing about doing face to face,
Yeah.
I'm not saying Zooms and webinars. I'm not saying they're not great, but there is an energy of looking into someone's eyes and
Yeah.
just seeing them light up that it's very hard to describe.
Yeah. It's a special container as well, that gets created in an environment like that. And, I've mentioned before on the calls that I do breath work. And that's one of the most powerful tools that actually help you. And interesting, my breathwork journey for this month was all about awakening your inner lion, right? To letting yourself roar, finding your roar, and finding your courage. And that's what breathwork is so powerful for. And that's definitely going to be something that's in part of or a major player in the retreats as well, because it is the alchemy. It is the alchemy. When we use our breath, it's the medicine that actually creates the magic.
Yeah.
So
I'm so excited that you're doing that. I wish everyone knew and experienced the power of breath work.
Yeah.
I really wish they did.
Well, my open invitation to anybody listening is
Tell us how we're going to find out about it.
Yeah, come join me with one of my monthly breathwork sessions. You can find it on my website at BethLarsenCoaching.com. If you look on the Work With Me page, you'll see the somatic magic sessions. That's what I refer to them as, because they are somatic magic. But every month has a different theme to it. And as I said, this month was really, for me, this whole month has been just about that, embracing that Leo energy. And by the way, I'm a Cancer. My month was last month. I'm the crab that tends to be more introverted, but I love embracing me some Leo energy and courage and boldness. And in fact, some of my daily divine declarations are all about, I am bold, I am courageous, I am powerful, I am abundant. And that is what I get to decide and declare. And so if I am that, then how do I want to show up today? It might be uncomfortable. Guess what? Discomfort is something I can handle.
Yeah. I mean, come on, let's be realistic about uncomfortability. It is the gateway to greatness. And I say that, and that's what we'll talk about next time if we talk about resistance. Yeah. Because whenever you're in tension and resistance, there is a level of uncomfortable. Imagine if you're a rubber band. How do you think the rubber band feels when you're stretching it and pulling it all out? Yep. It's wondering, is that going to be my limit? Are they going to pull it a little bit more? What's going to be my limit? And by the way,
I'm telling you that today. I got a whole episode for you on that
one. I want to thank you for today. And by the way, Linda did not get stung. As a matter of fact, what happened was really unprecedented. I have dragonfly as a totem. But we were standing there she's got the rake, and a beautiful blue, gorgeous, large dragonfly, as she was holding the rake between us, landed right on the rake.
Oh, wow. Beautiful.
I hope when you do that episode, we're going to talk about fear to faith.
Talk about what? Say that again.
Fear to faith. And please give out your website again and make sure they're spelling Larsen correctly.
Okay. And I'm just making notes as we talk here. I'm like, yes, that's next time. Yeah. You can find me at BethLarsenCoaching.com. That's Larsen with an E. So it's Larsen, not O-N. And you can find me on there. You can find my Work With Me page. That'll show you all the different things. And there's a podcast page that will take you to the archives for some of our other juicy conversations that we've had.
But thank you so much for today. I love this. I love the Leo energy this month. And no, I'm not a Leo. I am so far from a Leo, right? I mean, but the energy of this month is extraordinary. Thank you so much for bringing all this forth.
Thank you. Yeah. And until next time, keep flourishing and let your frequency flow.
Yeah. And roar.
Thank you for tuning in to the Flourish Frequency Show with me, Beth Larsen. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and are leaving with a heart full of inspiration and a mind buzzing with the possibilities of more. Tune in every third Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio for more frequency boosting conversations. And if you want more help getting into your Flourish flow and stepping into the possibilities of more, you can find me at BethLarsenCoaching.com. That's BethLarsenCoaching.com, Larsen with an E.